Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for sticking around. This is Neon. This is the Derezzed podcast on clownfishtv.com. And joining us this week again is Mr. Matt Moylan from Udon. How you doing, Matt?
Doing pretty good. We've got so many projects on the go. It's getting kind of crazy.
Well, I appreciate you taking time to talk to us again. Matt's been on, I think, twice now, right? You were on with, we did a comic book roundtable.
Yeah. I think we've done that twice, that group of people maybe, and maybe I've talked with you once by myself, maybe. I'm trying to think.
Oh, you were on the one podcast that we did live stream. And
right.
It got shut down in the middle of it. And that infamous
it's too hot to handle, whatever we were talking about. What was it? I think we were talking about the diamond shutdown.
I think that was it. Yeah. And we were about 45 minutes into it. And then we had the live stream killed for whatever reason. And I have my suspicions what actually happened. But thankfully we didn't chase you off. But Matt is here to talk. I guess we're going to talk about comic books and Udon. And for those of you who don't know what Udon Entertainment is, can you explain it to people?
Sure. We are a publisher of comic books, Japanese manga, and art books. And most of our stuff, a lot of it focuses on video games, usually Japanese video games. But we also do some, Western games and some anime related stuff and some original stuff. So that's generally what we're known for. And we also have a history of doing a lot of creative services projects where we'll do art for some other company's comic or for a video game or for a movie or whatever.
Whatever they need you for, right?
Yeah.
It's got a full service studio. DC used to do. I remember DC back in the day, they used to have like creative services and they would do artwork for like General Motors and stuff like that. And I don't think they do that anymore.
Nope. They hire people like us. Because we worked for the DC Creative Services division and they like doing stuff like designing. You remember the Ame-Kame statues that were like anime DC characters as anime characters?
Vaguely, it sounds familiar.
So we did a lot of designs for those, where we do stuff like they had like something like a NASCAR Justice League comic, something like that.
I remember that. I do remember that.
Yeah, so that kind of thing, or we did some like Lego Batman comics. So that's kind of stuff they would hire us to do.
It's kind of cool because that's how Udon got started, right? You guys got started doing X-Men, I think you were telling me.
Yeah, X-Men Evolution. So I've told this story a bunch of times. I mean, it's Eric Koh, the founder of Udon Story, really, but we all tell it. So Eric, after he left Dreamwave Productions, was sitting in the Marvel offices with one of the editors there, looking for a job, and another editor comes in and is like, "We have this Burger King like kids meal comic book project for X-Men Evolution. We need like something like 12-page comics, and we need it done in like 2 months. It's impossible." And Eric's like, "Can you give me a phone? I could get it done." And so Eric just called up a bunch of artists he knew and colorists and organized the whole project there at the Marvel offices and then got it done over the next 2 months. So that's how Udon started in 2000 exactly. So next year, 2025 will be the 25th anniversary of both X-Men Evolution and Udon. So it's always going to be tied together.
Yeah, it's kind of wild because X-Men Evolution, I feel like it gets kind of lost in the shuffle because everybody's talking about, X-Men 97 now. And of course, how god awful the current Marvel comics are. But like a lot of people forget about X-Men Evolution. And it actually, I'm going to be objective. I think it was the better of the two X-Men cartoons.
It's like a lot of those IPs where the second show gets a lot of flack for just not being the first show. Just the same was Beast Wars with Transformers. Like it was not G1, but it was really good. Sort of a thing. Yeah,
it was. I don't know. I thought it was pretty good. They leaned more heavily into the school angle with it, and Rogue was a goth, but Nightcrawler was in it quite a bit, which I appreciated. He wasn't in the original series very much, but no, I thought it was pretty good. But then after that, it just seemed like every Marvel show, every year they get like the new flavor. We were just another Spider-Man cartoon, another whatever cartoon, Wolverine.
Oh yeah, I remember someone posted on Twitter the other day, like, which was your favorite Spider-Man animated series? And they just show like 4 Spider-Mans. Like, I'm like, are these all different? I don't even know what these all are.
Yeah, I can't even keep track. I'm like, they have all these animated series now. And like back when we were younger, it seemed like every new animated series or every incarnation of like a legacy show was kind of like a huge deal. They promote it, advertise it. Now these, especially like on Disney, like they come and go. And I didn't even know, like, wait, Captain Marvel had an animated series or something. Like, what? When did this happen?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know. They had, I don't know, but they had like 50 different Batman cartoons and, some Ninja Turtles, they bring that back all the time. But I thought X-Men Evolution was pretty good. Do you think they'll bring it back on Disney Plus? Like,
I don't expect to get as big of a deal as X-Men 97, but I don't know, maybe they'll do a comic or something to celebrate it. They'd have to go pretty fast if they wanted to make a cartoon for the anniversary, right?
yeah, they'd have to. Maybe they'll do the X-Men Multiverse or something, right? They'll cross them over because that's always really popular. So let's talk about video games. Let's talk about Capcom. And so how you guys went from X-Men to Capcom. And at this point, if I remember correctly, Street Fighter was pretty much dormant, right? We're talking like the early 2000s.
Yep. Is just after Street Fighter 3 and Capcom, like Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, and Capcom had no plans to make another game ever. Like they were like, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike is the ultimate fighting game. It's perfect.
It was. Yeah, it was amazing.
To come in and say we should do Street Fighter 4 is to suggest that Street Fighter 3 Third Strike is not perfect. How dare you? So sort of a thing. So anyway,
it's not how the video game industry works, though, right? You just keep making sequels and sequels and reboots.
So Eric and the guys at Udon at that time, they wanted to do a Street Fighter comic because that was the nostalgia era, Transformers comics and G.I. Joe comics, and all the 80s stuff was coming back. And they initially pitched it to Marvel, and like, how about you guys pick up the license and we'll do the creative for it? And Marvel said nobody cares about Street Fighter. So Eric went to Japan because there's no like these days we deal with Capcom USA mostly, just because that's sort of like the translation and licensing division for North America, but that didn't exist back then. At least they didn't handle licensing. So Eric went to Japan and made a deal in Japan for Street Fighter comics because they're like, that sure, you want to do something? We're not doing anything with it. Go ahead.
So how much of what you guys have done has made it into, I guess, the game canon? Has any of that made it into the game canon, like backstory of the characters?
I don't know. I mean, it's the different game directors. I mean, there have been a lot of different people in charge of Street Fighter in the 20 years we've been working on it. But the guy for Street Fighter 4 and 5, Yoshinori Ono, I know he said he really liked our version of Ibuki. So I hope that maybe influenced when he put Ibuki in Street Fighter 5. Or the current director, Takayuki Nakayama for Street Fighter 6. He seems to really like what we're doing. They mostly care about that the characters are on model and stuff. They don't make a lot of story decisions, but they do make us do a lot of extra work that we didn't used to have to. Like we just sent in our new version of the Street Fighter Encyclopedia for approval, and they asked us, can you translate all the new sections into Japanese so we can read them and make sure they fit in with the game and stuff? And so we did a bunch of work to translate all of that, and then they sent it back and said, no notes, it's good.
Well, hey, it doesn't happen very often, right?
So it's good that they let the current group at Street Fighter and Capcom seems to really like our stuff. And we've got a bunch of projects going with them related to comics and related to games, and so it's all good there.
That's good. So, fan reaction has been pretty positive to the Udon material as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, we like to think that we kind of kept the brand alive during that. I think it was 8 or 9 years between Street Fighter 3 and 4. And our goal is always, come up with some original situations and stories, but stay true to the game characters. This is what the game characters would do. So we're not going to go and, I don't know, Ryu's going to become a villain suddenly. He's going to turn, and like we can't go that far off model. But when we do something at all radical, it's always kind of like a rubber band. Like let's just pull them a little bit, and then they'll snap back and be normal by the end of things.
That's kind of how it used to work, though. Like even Marvel and DC Comics. I was talking to Wes from Thinking Critical last week, and we were talking about how they used to put the toys back in the box a lot of times, and they kind of reset the status quo. And then next issue there'd be a new problem, and the character might go through a little bit of change, whatever. But for the most part, you knew by the end of the story, Spider-Man was going to be Spider-Man, and he's going to be doing Spider-Man things and having problems. Now you have to wonder, like, is Peter Parker going to be Spider-Man? Is Ryu going to be Ryu, or is it going to be the mantle of Ryu that's going to be given to somebody else? Yeah.
I think Capcom knows what people like. I mean, in Street Fighter 6, the launch roster included all 8 original playable Street Fighter 2 characters. So like they know that people like the classic characters. But they still make an effort to push new characters, new ideas. Like look at say Juri, for example, from Street Fighter. She's been in Street Fighter 4, 5, 6, and she's probably the 3rd most popular girl now. I mean, she's definitely in the top 3 with Chun-Li and Cammy now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so she's like a mainstay now. So they can come up with fun new ideas. Street Fighter really worked for that. You just like come up with a new country that doesn't have a character yet, come up with a new fighting style, something like that, and fit them in. Yeah,
it's always interesting because Street Fighter was kind of groundbreaking in that regard. Like every character was so unique. It wasn't just like a random karate guy number 5. It was like every character had their own moves, their own look. You could tell who they were in silhouette. And I remember when Street Fighter 3 came out, like how thrown everybody was. They're like, yeah, we're just keeping Ryu and Ken, and that's it. And we're creating all new characters. And people are like, no, how dare you? Then they had to kind of work in.
Yeah, they eventually brought in Chun-Li, and they brought in Akuma. I mean, Akuma because it's the easiest thing to do. You just change Ryu a little bit. Right. But no, Capcom's always come up with new ideas for Street Fighter. So we're happy about that. We did, I guess going back to tying in with the games, we did last year get to do, we did a mini series for Street Fighter 6, which was the official like prequel to the game. And we decided, well, nothing. So it's the game continuity, but we decided, well, there's nothing in here that contradicts our comics. So let's just say this is like a magic intersection point where the comics and the game continuity is the same. So this is part of our comic universe, and it's part of the game universe. And Capcom wrote that one for us. It's actually a story they already had, and they just didn't know what they were going to do with it. Like they didn't know. I don't know what their initial plans were, if they wanted to make it part of the game, but they already had too much content for the game or what. But they already had the script written for us. They're like, we have this script. Do you want to make a comic of it? So that was cool to be that, and that closely tied to the games for once. But going ahead, we're doing more comics than we have for a long time, because we've slowly, basically since the pandemic, where we were kind of lucky that we were on a slow period of comics, and we just decided, okay, just stop. No comics right now. Just stop, and we'll just focus on other books right now, because things are uncertain with if we're going to be able to sell stuff in stores or what. And so we just took a break, and then we've slowly built up to a few more comics a year, a few more. So this year last year we did about a dozen. This year we're doing a little more than that, probably like 13, 14, and next year probably even a little more than that. And I think that's this is about the amount that our audience can handle for our business model, because we make a lot of money selling the special limited covers on our store. If you look at the breakdown of sort of the income of a usual comic, we make about 25% of the gross income from direct market comic shops, and about 35% from doing exclusives with retailers. Now, some of those might be comic shops, but some of them are just online retailers who that's all they do is make exclusive variants, like maybe like Art Journal collectibles. And then we make about 40% of the income off our own store, off our own web store.
That's interesting then. So yeah, you're not, so the direct market technically could get kicked out from underneath you, and it wouldn't really make a huge difference. It's sizable, but it's not going to.
We like that it's there, but we're definitely not dependent on it. We have we did though go to Comics Pro for the first time this year. The it's sort of like the annual meeting of sort of the most gung-ho retailers in comics, and we learned a few things there that were like, this can instantly improve our sales. And we did, I'll tell you what it was, but we did one little thing, and for our last two comics, it put up we had a Kumo versus Ryu one shot, and this one little thing increased sales about 13%, and then on Darkstalkers Jetta, it was 20 something, over 20%. It went up in direct market, and it was just having our comics available for final order cutoff, which is something we just never did, because we just assumed, that's just an option that some people like. They like to order at that time. And so, what final order cutoff is? So, how comics are sold to comic book shops is there's the Diamond Previews catalog, and about 3 months before the book comes out, they look through the catalog, like online or the physical catalog, and then they put in an order for whatever comics they want that they see in there. And then final order cutoff is you can set it to what you want, but usually maybe 3 or 4 weeks before the book comes out, it's a chance for retailers to increase or decrease their orders, like decide what their actual order is going to be. So maybe there's been some hype leading up to that comic, or another tie-in comic that now I know this one's going to be a big deal, I want to get some extra. So it's an opportunity to add extra orders. And we learned that a lot of retailers only do the final order cutoff. They don't even look at the catalog anymore.
Oh, it's interesting. Well, I mean, there's so much in there, right? It's
So a few retailers told us, no, we only do final order cutoff. And some of them told us we only do final order cutoff except for Udon. We always try to remember to get your stuff from the catalog. Like, oh, awesome. So moving to final order, we're just getting eyeballs on more retailers.
That's cool.
And so our stuff generally sells out too. Like we always do maybe 15-20% overprint for direct market stock, and most comics sell out with reorders, in a couple or the first couple months.
Wow.
So we're glad they're not just sitting around that they can't sell them.
Yeah, no, that's good. Do you think that has making your stuff available through your online store to consumers, I mean, does that cut into comic shop sales at all, or?
I don't think so, because it's a different kind of it's a different purchase point. Even if you're just going to buy the regular version from us, you still have to pay for the shipping,
right,
to get it to you. And a lot of comic shops have a loyalty program discount for anybody who pre-orders. So our store is the most expensive place you could go to get it. So I think we're selling to people who maybe just don't have a comic shop near them, and B, to collectors who want to get the expensive covers. And that's a different group of people than who want to read the comic. Some people say that's bad, but it's just a different group of people. I use the example of the Futurama episode where they're in an art gallery, and all the art in the future is drawn on fat guys' bellies. And
yes,
this is just the way it is in the future. It's where people want their art, and so right now there's just a group of people that want their art to be on a comic book. If we use that same art and sold it as a print, it just wouldn't sell as good. But they just want it to be on a comic book. But they really just want the art. And I think it's also people that actually want it too. It's not like, I mean, there's definitely some resellers and stuff, but it's mostly people who just want it for themselves. They don't want to. It's not a speculator market, really.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I do know that covers variants definitely sell. It's a whole nother thing. It's like a kind of a love and hate relationship I think people have with variant covers. It's like they hate that a lot of publishers are kind of predatory about it, putting out like freaking 19 different covers, but at the same time, those sell. So they're incentivized to make them because they sell, right? And people obviously want them. So not everybody hates variant covers.
Yeah, and it's a lot more transparent than it was even, like, say, when I worked at Dreamwave. When you do variant covers, it's like for Transformers, you do A and B, and it was a 50-50, usually 50-50. You just order the comic and you get half of each. And nowadays, you always get like a separate SKU so the comic shop can order, I want, exactly 10 cover A and 3 cover B. So I don't get stuck with this other one I don't want.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I did some variant covers for IDW, and it was like they had the retailer incentives. I think the ones I did were you had to buy 25 copies or something of the regular cover to be able to get one of these like Disney parks. I forget what they were. It was like we had like Epcot and Disneyland, and they were like these collectible Disney parks covers. And I did a handful of those, and I was like, man, this kind of like, why are they going for so much? Like, I didn't think people liked me that much. No, it wasn't because they liked me. It's because retailer had to buy like freaking 25 copies of the regular Donald Duck book to get one of those covers.
Yeah, we only do 5-to-1 incentives. And at least from the people we talked at Comics Pro, they're like, that's like the perfect amount. That's probably, there's not very many people who are going to order your stuff that are going to order much less than 5. They'll probably order, 3 at the least. Yeah. And then, I'll just get 1 extra and get this cover I can sell for $20.
That's cool. I got, I don't know if we talked about that. Did I tell you about my Dreamwave story that I actually tried out for Dreamwave?
You have, and I have seen the pages. I think you showed them somewhere at some point.
Yeah, I had them online. So I had the unfortunate luck, or maybe I dodged a bullet, of actually trying out for Dreamwave, for Transformers Armada, right as they were shutting the doors. Like, they were like going out of business. And I was like, wait, what? And I just getting ready, and I talked to somebody there, and I don't remember.
You probably have talked to either Derek Chu-Wing or Graham Cruz, or probably one of the 2 project managers you would have talked to.
Yeah, and they're like, hey, go ahead and send those in, and here's kind of what we're looking for. I'm like, oh, cool. So I worked real hard on these, and then like I'm not getting an answer, and then I'm reading in I don't know if it was like Lying in the Gutters or something. Like, hey, yeah, Dreamwave's going out of business, guys. They're shutting their doors. And I'm like, oh, that was really unfortunate timing.
Yeah,
it might have been for the best.
Seeing them, I can understand why they didn't go for it, because like you've said, like, it's super detailed.
Oh yeah,
and the Dreamwave style was sort of to leave big open areas and then let the colorist do a lot of the work, like fill it in with shines and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I did a lot of coloring, and I'm like, yeah, I'd probably kill myself if I had to color that. I mean, it's a lot easier now than it was back then. But I started coloring comics with a freaking mouse. Like, literally.
Dude, we had a guy at Dreamwave who still used a mouse, and I don't know why. He would not upgrade to a tablet. But
yeah,
he was really good at it.
Well, I mean, back then it was like tablets were so ridiculously expensive too.
Oh, he actually had. So it was my roommate Dave. I lived with him for a while, and in one issue of Transformers, he got yelled at by another editor. It's a guy that nobody liked, so I don't need to name him. But the editor yelled at him saying, "I can't believe that you copy and pasted these photographic clouds. That's super lazy. We're not gonna pay you for that." And he had to tell him, "I'm just really good at painting clouds, dude. I made these clouds." Because he had done it all himself.
Oh my God, that'd be a kid. That's like now, like all these artists are accused of using AI, and it's like, no, I'm just that good. It wasn't actually AI, you know.
Yeah, it's all gonna. I mean, it's unstoppable. It's just the discussion is interesting right now, but it's just like arguing about piracy. Like, okay, it's great if you argue if it's immoral or okay or whatever, but it doesn't matter. It's still going to happen, whatever you decide.
Yeah, I'm actually seeing. I need to upgrade to Clip Studio 3, but I know that they're going to be doing more. And Photoshop has now. They have all kinds of AI tools, built right into Photoshop. I mean, I could conceive of a time when, and I think you put a poll out on Twitter talking about like, would you agree to using AI if it was like your style, you trained it, and I would.
I was thinking, like, say, what if Alex Ross wanted to use an AI to train an AI just on his thing, on his style, to make AI Alex Ross covers or Alex Ross art, and like, what's the moral argument to say no there if he's just trained it on his own art? I mean, I don't know.
If it's possible to like lock it down, and that my understanding is that's kind of the end goal, is as an art tool to kind of have your own style, your own bot that you've trained to help you as an assistant. And I would do it in a heartbeat. I would, if it meant that I could make more stuff and it would still be mine because I'm the one that trained it and it's working in my style and not lifting from other people. And
it's certainly going to be used a lot for like conceptual stuff, like oh, I need to draw an illustration set in St. Louis, and it's with Spider-Man, and like give me 20 ideas, and like here's 20 layouts of Spider-Man in St. Louis, and okay, I'll pick that layout, and I'll start there. I'll change the pose a bit and make, when I'm actually drawing it myself. So it's gonna be like a tool that's going to be used for sure.
How is it different? I guess I have to, like, using it for concept art, using it for layouts. Like, how is that any different than a photo swipe?
Yeah. It's just going to replace going to Google and searching for stuff. Eventually it will go and do the search in Google for you and figure out all that stuff for you. But I mean, right now, like, we don't plan to use an AI art, but at some point somebody's going to trick us. It's gonna happen. So that's the thing too. Like, I see a lot of companies out there, putting up statements that they're like, "Hey, we're anti-AI art. We don't use AI art." I mean, and there's definitely a witch hunt going on social media right now with people trying to catch artists in the act of using AI and passing it off as hand drawn art. So, like, what kind of safeties could a publisher put in place to make sure that all you can really do is put in your contracts that, like, we do not accept AI art, and if you're caught using it, then you'll have to give us the money back. And maybe we'll charge you for costs that we've incurred by, like, we have to reprint this and that stuff, so definitely don't do it, sort of a thing. But there's not much else you can do. I thought that was funny with Wizards of the Coast. They got busted, and they're like, "Oh, we didn't know this artist used AI art." And then their, like, entire profile on Twitter was like, "AI artist specializing in AI art using artificial intelligence on the internet." That's literally all they did. And people are like, "Come on, man. That's like if you're gonna do it, at least own up to it, you know?" But so let's kind of we got off topic here. Let's go back to let's go back to, well, it's everybody's talking about right now, right? Like, every artist is talking about AI art and, being possibly supplanted by it or tricked by it or whatever. But so talking about Capcom, now you do other Capcom franchises. So I have to ask you definitively, which Capcom franchises canonically cross over with Street Fighter? Well, in the games, it's a few, actually. It's been Final Fight for a long time. Yeah. Also, Strider is part of the Street Fighter universe now. Yeah, which surprised me. I didn't realize that was just a sudden decision Capcom made with Street Fighter V. It's pretty cool. But I think it's just because so the original Strider was kind of one of these co-production things where, like, they put the manga and the video game out at the same time. And the property was co-owned by, like, Capcom and Moto Kikaku. But that's all they ever did. I'm actually not sure if that's the name of one person or the company. I think it's the name of the company. But that's all. But, they seem to be super happy anytime Strider is used in anything. So that's an easy thing for Capcom to do, I guess. Also now Rival Schools, which was always kind of a maybe thing, like, because Sakura was a guest star in the Rival Schools game. Right. I do remember that, yeah. But then they made it sort of official Street Fighter V. They made Akira a playable character, and there's Rival Schools characters that appear in the backgrounds of stages. So that's fully a thing now. I don't know what exactly the lore is timeline-wise. It's actually been a problem with our comics because the Rival Schools characters are in high school, and they've only ever been shown in high school. And our timeline moves forward, like Ryu's gotten older over the years, and Ryu had a kid who's like 12 now. So what are the Rival Schools kids doing right now? Are they, like, in their mid-20s or what? So we've kind of kept that a little nebulous. Maybe just to say we've just transferred the names of, like, they used to go to Taiyo High, now they go to Taiyo University. But that's all. But, yeah, they've been held back many years. They're not very smart. But in our comics, the Darkstalkers characters are also part of the Street Fighter universe. It's not an official thing in the games, though. Okay, I was always wondering if it was official in the games or not, because there definitely is. Aesthetically, you can see the similarity between Darkstalkers and Street Fighter 3. Yeah, because it's a lot of the same people that worked on the character designs and the sprites and all that. So,
yeah, Necro especially looks like he could be a Darkstalkers character.
Oh yeah. But in terms of, but for our comics, I mean, we've been doing Street Fighter and Darkstalkers for a while, and we are finally now doing a Final Fight series, which I'm writing myself. It's my first time writing a series. I've written a lot of one shots and short stories and web comics, and I haven't written a monthly comic series before. So I'm doing the writing, and Matthew Weldon is doing the art. He drew I was going to say the wrong thing. Punchline for Iconic Comics. I think it's before they called themselves they called themselves Iconic Comics, but it was that group of guys working through Antarctic Press.
Okay, so that was the guy who like after they came out with Punchline, then DC decided they were going to do a Joker character.
Yeah, they had their own character Punchline after, but
I remember that.
The version Matt worked on was much before that. He also did I know he worked on Red Sonja and some other comics. But he's great for Final Fight just because he draws so much stuff in the background. He'll just, draw like it's some thugs playing poker, but he'll also go and draw barrels in the background and a pipe leaning on the wall and a dirty window with stuff dripping on it and a mouse in the corner. Like it just draw a grimy, awesome Metro City. So that's working out great.
Bust it open, get a hamburger or something.
Yeah. So he's in the middle of drawing issue number 2 right now, and I'm working on issue number 3. And by the time this podcast goes up, we'll probably be taking pre-orders on issue number 1.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So yeah, you worked on, that's actually how I became familiar with your work was Little Formers.
Yeah.
Doing webcomics back in the day. And that got you you were doing stuff with Namco too, weren't you? At one point, Bandai?
Yes. Well, that's Udon got hired to do web comics for a bunch of their bunch of Namco's like totally dead properties. Like, here's like 6 games we made one game of in like 1989.
Wonder Momo or whatever.
Yeah. So here 20, 25 years later.
Right.
Just take them and do whatever try to reinvent them as web comics. And if they get successful, maybe we'll do something else with them, like a game or a cartoon or something. And so I got hired to do Bravo Man, which ended up being like the flagship title. It lasted from the beginning to the end of Shifty Look. And we ended up with an animated series, like a web series, 12 5-minute episodes, and a video game that wasn't very good, unfortunately.
I didn't know there was an actual video game. So we had webcomics based on video games.
Yeah,
we made a game on that. God.
Yeah, it's kind of like Street Fighter the movie, the game. Like
yeah. Yeah. God, that was weird. Yeah, for those of you who aren't familiar, look that up. It was actually like their attempt at like a Mortal Kombat digitized actors, and I heard it was actually supposed to be Street Fighter 3. Some people said that they were on the fence. They were going to make it Street Fighter 3 at some point.
Yeah, I can see that. Them like deciding and marketing and stuff. Street Fighter wasn't super thought out at that point. That's why the movie now seems so weird and cheesy. Is like, well, they didn't have a lot of lore. It wasn't all figured out yet.
No, just a bunch of people fighting. Just make it work. God, that cartoon show. They keep around the cartoon show now on Retro Crush. And,
I've got. There's a Final Fight episode of the cartoon show, so we're putting.
I didn't know that they had Final Fight in that.
Yeah, we're sneaking a few references into the comics.
Yeah, I just thought it was like, man, this looks like G.I. Joe. But then they had G.I. Joe figures of Street Fighter characters in the 90s too. I thought that was weird.
Yep, they're in. What's that website? Yojo.com?
Yojo.com, yeah.
Yeah. They just did the big there's amazing biggest art book I own, like art book of every G.I. Joe figure ever, and it's got the Street Fighter guys in there. So
yeah, they had Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, which I thought was wild. Like they're trying really hard, like Hasbro's trying really hard to stay relevant, and all of a sudden G.I. Joe is fighting like the Toxic Crusader and stuff, like weird, like they had these weird drug dealers. They started fighting drug dealers because terrorists weren't cool anymore. Started fighting space monsters and apparently Mortal Kombat.
I've been saying lately, Hasbro needs to, I think it would be a good marketing move for Hasbro to sell off the Monopoly property so that people stop using art of the, like, what's his name? Uncle Pennybags or whatever.
Yeah,
Him, like, with his pockets It's like, oh, I don't have any money. Like, stop using that art in like YouTube videos and stuff to refer to Hasbro.
Oh my God.
Just get rid of that property.
Well, it wasn't even theirs. That's the thing. Like most of the stuff people know Hasbro for now wasn't even their IP. They bought off of Parker Brothers.
Yeah.
And Parker Brothers was part of, I want to say Kenner and Parker Brothers were a thing for a while. I don't remember, but they bought.
Hasbro owns them both.
Yeah, they own everything now. They're like the Disney of toys. And then we just did the episode the other day where they're outsourcing like all their IP now to other toy companies. They're actually, so this is the biggest toy company in the world. They've gotten too big and now they can't make toys. Now they're outsourcing the actual toy production to like Playmates and Basic Fun and stuff. It's like, that's crazy. But I guess video game companies do that, right? I mean, I'm thinking even with Street Fighter EX, that was what was the name of the studio that did that one? Do you know off the top of your head?
Yeah, Eureka.
Eureka, yeah.
So that was Eureka's game. It was basically Eureka's game, and they licensed the Street Fighter characters to be in it and the name Street Fighter to put on it. So it was like a really advanced version of like Sonic the Hedgehog being in Smash Brothers, but it was like a really far-flung version of that where they took a lot of Capcom stuff and put it in the game.
Now, do you have the rights to those characters?
No, but they seem to have a good relationship with Capcom. So when they do something like we have our Art of Street Fighter book that covers all the games up to Street Fighter 4, and that has also the Street Fighter EX characters and artwork in it. And they're like, yeah, of course we're okay with you putting that in that book as like a complete history of Street Fighter. And Capcom does stuff like they've done some crossovers with like letting those characters be in as like alternate costumes in the Street Fighter games. And I think, if I recall, maybe Akuma Gesker. So those guys have their own game now called EX Fighting Layer. So
okay.
EX Fighting Layer, and I'm pretty sure Akuma guest stars in that. I think he does. So they seem to have a good relationship.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because I was never quite sure like what I thought it was Capcom's idea, and they just outsourced it because it was 3D and they weren't really into 3D games.
Yeah, I wonder if it was they didn't have that skill yet, or they didn't want to take the risk. And if it was a big bomb, they could be like, "Oh, that was those other guys."
Maybe just like walk away from it and be like, that was the thing that happened. But it's interesting about Strider though. Like, I would love to see Strider come back properly. That's like one of my all-time favorite arcade games. Love it. Now
we did participate. We got asked to do a pitch for a Strider game, and they decided to do a different game. We basically got at this is like more than 10 years ago. We did a bunch of pitch art for like a AAA like 3D Strider game, and for Capcom, and they decided in the end to do instead, let's just do a nostalgic 2D game, and that game was really good. So that's fine. This is the direction they decided to go.
Was that Strider 2?
It was Strider. I think it was just called Strider again. It would be the third. Strider game.
Okay. Yeah, I think I remember that one.
Yeah.
So I never understood what the deal was with his scarf. Like sometimes he has it, sometimes he doesn't. Is it the same character? Like, isn't it supposed to be like there are multiple Striders? Like every generation, there's like a new Strider or something.
That I don't know well enough. I do know that at one point they asked us like one of the ideas was, what if he was a deaf ninja? That's like his character trait. And I'm like, a blind ninja is cool because he can like hear things and stuff, but a deaf ninja just gets snuck up on all the time. And he's gonna have like a team of other ninjas that he like coordinate. Like, how does he hear his team and communicate with the team? And
I can see that though, because I was thinking the Strider NES game, actually they had multiple Striders, and you had like a satellite or something. They had like a satellite base or something. It was very different from the arcade.
The pitch art we did is in one of our Art of Capcom art books, so you can see like a glimpse of what that game might have looked like.
Well, there you go. You need to have like a time travel episode or something where, like Strider Hero comes back and it's like, don't do whatever, step on the butterfly or whatever, or this character has to win this fight, because if you don't, whatever, bad things are going to happen. I'm from the bad future. That's where Russia takes over and builds a bunch of robot centipede men.
Oh, hey, speaking of robots, we got an awesome robot art book coming up called Tankhead.
I saw that in the site. Yeah, what's up with Tankhead?
Yeah, so Tankhead is an original IP created by Emerson Tung. He's like a character designer, concept artist in the video game industry. He's worked on Doom Eternal, and he's worked on some Warhammer stuff and a bunch of other things. So Tankhead is just initially was just a random idea he did for Inktober. He drew a bunch of, which is, where artists just draw. I think it's supposed to usually be black and white art or at least hand drawn art. But he drew a bunch of mechs for an Inktober one year, and he just decided to keep going with it. And eventually he's got like hundreds of these illustrations. So he came to us and said, "Can we put this all in a book and like come up with like text for all of them? They'll have descriptions of how they were used in this war." The idea is basically it's a kind of, it's an alternate Earth, kind of somewhere between World War I and II, and in this world nobody ever thought of tank treads. So they put all the tanks on giant robots.
Giant robot chickens. I'm looking at some of the art here. Yeah. Giant robot chickens laying eggs with legs, and these remind me of kind of the Beast Box.
Yeah, kind of.
Which I freaking love. I've got a ton of those. These are cool.
Those are
we
great.
Should make a toy line.
Yeah, I think that's what he's eventually hoping. So, but you open it up and it feels like an RPG book because there's all these like stats of like armaments and complement and everything for every single mech. So him and his co-conspirator Tim Poplier, his last name is, let me see, Tim Poplier. That's I think how you pronounce it. But he wrote the text for the book. And it's a really cool, interesting world. But yeah, we just got the initial like first printed samples of the book in, and it's coming in. It's going to be in our store, shipping out, I think, at the end of May, and it's going to be in regular shops sometime in June, July.
That's pretty cool.
But you can check out the Udon store website if you want to go see it right now.
So you guys did the Elden Ring art books, and you sold a bunch of those. How'd that go? That's
another sort of series. Like we've done the whole spiritual series of Miyazaki Hidetaka games, which is like the Dark Souls trilogy and Bloodborne and Elden Ring.
Yes, so we've my son's favorite games. Actually, he loves those games.
So we've licensed all those art books from Japan and published English editions of them. And we're very lucky that we did, because the first one, because Udon tends not to, we don't do stuff if we're not fans of it. Like just an example, like we got asked to do Five Nights at Freddy's art books at one point, and we're like, don't really know. None of us really knew Five Nights at Freddy's, and we did know that it was super popular.
Right.
But like none of us are really fans of this. We think it's maybe for somebody else. We don't think we're the guys who are going to do it justice. So we're kind of like that for Dark Souls. And then one of the Udon guys were like, "No, you got to do this. This is great." It's like, okay, somebody's into it, so let's do it. So we licensed the first one, and that's our best-selling art book.
I have no doubt. Yeah, my son is a massive Dark Souls fan.
Yeah, I think it's going to be eclipsed by Elden Ring maybe over the next year or so. But we're glad that we managed to do sort of the whole series. Hopefully he'll keep doing games. We can do more art books for them.
About once every 10 years or whatever. Put a new game. Yeah. Oh, they have a new DLC coming. They have I'm not sure when that drops, but it's basically like a whole nother game. It's sometime this May or June. I don't remember. But my son was talking about it. He's like, he freaking loves that game. And he had me playing it, and I suck at it because I'm old school. I want to get in there and just start hacking away, and you cannot. You have to really time your attacks and dodging. And I'm like, no. I just want to kill shit.
Yeah, the game I've played in that, it's not part of this series. It's Neo. It's another game in that sort of genre, the Soulsborne genre. We also published art book for Neo as well, but it's like feudal Japan is where Neo is set. And you got to like basically almost kind of memorize the levels. Like, okay, there's a guy there and there's two guys behind there. And if I block the first guy and then kill the second guy and like go sort of a thing.
Yeah, it's just like to me. It's like I'm just like I said, I'm old school. I just want to get in there and just start beating the shit out of stuff. And he's like, "Man, you suck at this." I'm like, "No, this is not how I usually play games. Like I'm getting like Metal Gear Solid, PTSD here because I remember the first time I played that, I just wanted to run in and just start shooting guys, and it's like, no, you can't do that. Nope. So you guys ever get Fantasy Star, give me a call. I would be keenly interested.
Yeah, that's one that's just there's so much in Japan. It's kind of hard to figure out what you would do first. You jumped into it, and then it's kind of like, can we try some of it without doing everything?
I do the classic series. I think there's a little bit of nostalgia for online, but not as much as there is for those original games.
Okay.
Those original games were gold, but unfortunately we've lost some of the staff that worked on it, and this will be hard to get that information. But I know they had like all kinds of like perfect works and books like that, and I don't understand why Sega just kind of left Phantasy Star die on the vine the way they have. I mean, they have the new MMORPG, was it online too? But I don't know. It doesn't seem like people are playing it, at least not over here. I think it's really popular in Japan, but
yeah, I mean, they put a lot of focus on the Persona games, which are their lead RPG these days. And Udon does a lot of Persona stuff too. It sells pretty great, so people really love Persona.
Oh yeah. So any dream projects, any IP that you wish that you guys would get a hold of that you haven't yet?
I'd love to do art book for Gargoyles one day. That'd be my dream project. Like art of the animated series.
Yeah.
I have no idea what exists still. You never know. It's like 30 years old now. So you never know if there's everything around, but that'd be great to do that one day. But we've got a bunch of really cool stuff coming up. I mean, stuff we can't announce yet, but I'll tell you, we've got a cool project related to newspaper comics.
Okay.
Coming up. So that's something different for us. We've got an art book for a pretty popular 80s, 90s anime coming up. You'll hear about that soon because we're going to be premiering the book at San Diego Comic-Con. So you'll hear about what it is actually soon. And we've got end of the year going into next year. We're going back to doing a whole bunch of Mega Man stuff.
Oh yeah. I've actually got some of the books. Yeah.
Almost every format that we do, we've got like something new Mega Man for it. Like something new art book, something new manga, something new comic bookish. So all kinds of stuff coming for Mega Man pretty soon.
That's awesome. Yeah, Mega Man. That's another one. I feel like Capcom just kind of like, I don't know. They kind of left it slide. I don't understand why. Like it was
they go in bursts. They did let someone else do it for a while. Like they had that Mega Man X Dive series, which is a Taiwan made game. Taiwan, yeah. And eventually usually those games don't even make it over these mobile originating games from Asian countries, but it was big enough that they did bring it out in English version. And I think it was not just on mobile. I think you could get it on Steam and stuff like that.
I think I've seen it on Steam. Yeah, I haven't played it, but I always thought it was kind of strange. Like Konami, they're not even making their own games anymore. Like they're just outsourcing everything. Like there's a new Contra game coming out. They're not making it. Castlevania is just
we're working on an art book for that Contra game. So
oh really? That's pretty cool though.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's not just for that. It is a big part of it, but it's like a retrospective of the whole series. We have announced that. So it's not a big secret or anything. But
whoops. We
have announced it. We have.
Oh, you have? Okay, yes. I thought you said we haven't announced it. It wasn't that big of a secret. No. But it's so weird because I was thinking about that the other day. Like Castlevania has been licensed out to multiple indie games. Like Dead Cells has Castlevania. V Rising has Castlevania.
I love Dead Cells, so I know all the Castlevania content in there.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. My son got it for me for Christmas, and it's got the Konami cover. You can reverse the Switch case, and you get the classic Konami cover on it. But like they're not making any actual Castlevania games. Instead, you get like Bloodstained, which is very much like Castlevania, but it scratches that itch. But like even Perfect Opportunity, Vampire Survivors, which is like one of my favorite games now, and it's right there. It's like right there. It basically is knocking off Castlevania. They've got all these other Among Us and Contra is actually coming to that, but not Castlevania. It's so weird.
Yeah, I expect Capcom will do. They'll get back to Mega Man pretty soon. I don't know what it'll be, if it'll be another classic game or an X game or a Legends game, but it's been a while. I'm sure they'll get back to it. I do know people ask all the time though, like, why don't they do another Darkstalkers game? Why don't they do another Power Stone game? And honestly, it's just that the fighting game market is so different now. You're just competing with yourself, right? If you have multiple games, like back in the day, it was like, well, you need other games because the machine's busy. You need other games for the kids to go play on while they're waiting for Street Fighter or waiting for Darkstalkers or whatever. So you want to have a bunch of games, but I think at this point, you know, it's kind of like trying to compete with, say, World of Warcraft. Like those MMORPG players at that time could only dedicate their time to one game. You know, so like right now, fighting game community can only dedicate their time to a limited number of games. And do you want to compete against yourself? So I don't think they've really, like, since they brought back Street Fighter 4, I don't think they've ever had more than like Street Fighter 4, like a Street Fighter game and a Marvel vs. Capcom game at the same time. Yeah. Otherwise just re-releases of classic games. So it's tough to get. I think it's tough for them to justify making a sequel in any of these series, but hopefully we'll at least get to keep seeing the characters in other games.
It's cool. Like, just throw them all in one game. Just have a big, like, knockdown, drag out Capcom brawl.
Sure.
Capcom fight.
Just call it Capcom versus.
Oh my God, there you go. Money in the Bank. Capcom versus.
Just make it a Marvel Capcom style game. I mean, they're different. Like Street Fighter is sort of for the seasoned, like, competitive gamer, and then stuff like Marvel Capcom is, there's competitive scene, but it's really for people to just go and have fun. Kind of like the Dragon Ball Z Fighters. It's like that. It's just anybody can just pick it up and have fun.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I'd love to have, like, every obscure freaking Capcom fighting game character from every game ever. And just think of the monetization. You can sell DLC forever. Just every new character, $5 here, $5 there, $10 here. I mean, look at Mortal Kombat. $10 for a fatality. I mean, come on.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous. Selling. I mean, they're not selling. It's not a gameplay thing, right? But they are selling the finishing. So
yeah, I thought that was nuts. I played MK1. I played it. I mean, I played both. I got both about the same time. Mortal Kombat 1, Street Fighter 6, and you can pass this along. Street Fighter 6 is vastly superior to Mortal Kombat 1.
I haven't played a Mortal Kombat since Annihilation on GameCube.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was. I was very underwhelmed. It was also, there was an awful lot of talking. I'm like, this is Mortal Kombat, right? I want to be ripping heads off. No, we had to have all kinds of exposition and plot, and I'm like, nah, I'm bored. I'm out. But all right, Matt. So where can people find you? Find Udon products other than the store? I guess just ask for them. Comic shops, Amazon.
Yeah, ask your local comic shop. Our stuff's all on Amazon, or go to udonstore.com. And all our social medias are usually Udon Ent for Udon Entertainment, so Udon ENT. We're on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. It's mainly where we promote stuff.
Facebook. Nobody goes to Facebook anymore.
Well, we've got a crowd of people who are there, so we'll keep telling them stuff.
There you go.
And I mean, I'm just Slow Formers on Twitter. That's where I post about this comic's terrible and this one's great. I like this video game. And
you're allowed to do that? Are you allowed to give your opinions on Twitter?
Apparently.
Okay.
I'm still there.
Right.
I'm still there.
Yeah, there you go.
I haven't been canceled.
Yeah, I don't think it's working as well as it used to. That's just my personal opinion. But yeah, you guys seem like you're kind of in a little bit of a bubble anyway. So from the rest of the comic book industry.
We've always been separate. We've had our own I mean, the direct market of all our diamond sales even is only like 12 to 15% of our diamond sales.
Yeah.
And that's all comic books and any art books and manga that we sell in the comic shop. So we're happy to have those retail partners, but it's not where we are. We're a book publisher that happens to do comics.
There you go. All right. Well, that's what everybody says they want, right? They want everything to transition to the book market, and you guys are doing that. So.
My advice to be successful in comics is don't be a comic publisher.
I have heard that from a lot of different people, honestly. I have. But hey, thank you so much for stopping by again, Matt. We'll have to do it again. Guys, please subscribe to D-Res wherever you found this podcast, whether it's on Amazon or Spotify or iTunes or wherever it is. and we'll talk to you later. Thanks again for listening. More news and videos are available on our website at www.clownfishtv.com and on our YouTube channel, Clownfish TV. You can buy official merchandise, Clownfish comic books, and more at shopclownfish.com. If you like this show, please consider subscribing and leaving us a positive review on iTunes and other podcast platforms. If you're looking to help support this show financially, go to clownfishsupport.com. If you would like to sponsor an episode of this show, send us an email at business@webreef.io. This podcast is a production of Clownfish Studios, LLC and Web Reef Media, proudly made in Pittsburgh, USA.